And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Jones. Max Keiser from England is our guest. If you just tuned in, he's a former successful stockbroker, and he, of course, invented a lot of the virtual trading systems that are used today. And he's also been a syndicated radio host and syndicated television host and made a lot of accurate predictions on our show. MaxKeiser.com is his main website. Of course, I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. And we have, of course, Infowars Nightly News. And I'm excited that a lot of what airs on Infowars Nightly News is also being picked up by our syndicated AM and FM affiliates on their own accord, and they are airing a lot of the nightly news on their own shows or in little vignettes on their stations. So it's incredible, Max, how hungry people are for something that isn't controlled left or controlled right, but just has a pro-liberty, common sense bent. And that is certainly our bias, to tell the truth and promote a new renaissance of freedom. I know you've said many times that that's basically your political perspective as well for new listeners out there. But in the time we have in this segment, we see massive political engineering going on. We see huge turmoil. Just last week, Secretary of Defense said the whole world's blowing up. 2 weeks before, the White House press secretary said we've had unparalleled prosperity and tranquility during Obama. That's like saying 2 + 2 = 5. Or earlier in the week in Ferguson, when our reporters got attacked with rubber bullets, along with the Washington Post and Al Jazeera, the police said they were helping us, that we'd asked to have that done when they knocked the cameras over. That was on Fox News. So we see CNN, MSNBC lying at record levels, Fox News just reporting whatever the police say. We're not even against the police in Ferguson. It just seems like the age of lies and fraud has kicked into overdrive. And then we see Russia having a convoy blown up by Ukraine last Friday. We just see unparalleled things happening right now. U.S. armor being sent to the border, a dollar devaluation accelerating. What are your short, medium, and long-term predictions? And what is the state of the world right now, Max Keiser?
Well, give a little background. For the past 30 years, the big Western economies and economies around the world have tried to sustain their growth using only monetary policy. That is to say, they've been printing money instead of programs or instead of policies that would increase things like manufacturing. They've been doing whatever they can to lower the cost for corporations and to make up any shortfalls by just printing money. And right now, in 2014, we see the result of 30 years of monetization fail, a huge failure. So these countries that are really become corpocracies, vehicles for companies, are now battling for remaining world resources after having now come to the conclusion that their attempt to aggregate their own pockets purely by printing money, purely by monetary policies, now at the end game. So they're going to go into more of a hot war situation. So resources like water, resources like energy, resources like agriculture, and we see this happening in Ukraine. I think Ukraine is an example of what happens when an agriculturally rich country like Ukraine, which also will have a pipeline going through it coming from Russia, Iran, suddenly catches the eye of the expanding Western European and the American forces that are not able to generate any GDP growth in those countries by printing more money. It used to be that if you printed a bunch of money, you could create some GDP growth. Now, the debts are skyrocketing. They keep printing money, but these debts are still going rapidly out of control.
So Conquest by counterfeit Fiat derivative is coming to an end.
Yes.
So now they're going back to the old-fashioned conquest by military force.
Correct. I think that's a good summation. So as a result, the money from before the world became monetized is coming back into play, and that would mean gold, that form of money. And I think Bitcoin, which, just to follow up on Bitcoin a little bit, Bitcoin is almost digital gold in that sense, in that it has the attributes of gold. There's a limited supply, it's desirable, it's fungible, and it'll be used in this new war. You know, it's interesting, looking at the history, World War I started on horseback, it ended up with the Gatling gun. World War II started with the infantry, it ended up with atomic weapons. World War III, which is where I think we're starting now, is going to start with sanctions, which is a very crude economic warfare technique, and it'll end with cryptocurrencies. In 5 years' time, the world financial map will be redrawn due to cryptocurrencies the public ledger that's inherent in a cryptocurrency, and the ability to move hundreds of billions of pounds and dollars around the world effortlessly, frictionlessly, using the blockchain, using cryptocurrency. That's my prediction. World War III will be defined by cryptocurrency, principally Bitcoin.
Well, the West engaging in all this economic sabotage is forcing Russia and others into the BRICS. It's forcing them to set up their own financial institutions.
That's true. The BRICS
They say necessity is the mother of invention.
That's right. The BRICS are creating their own bank to counter the IMF. This is called de-dollarization. So the dollar, which has been world reserve currency since World War II, is losing its use on a daily basis.
It almost seems like our political elite are destroying our system on purpose, or is it just pure greed? That's my concern. Is before you had generals and dictators and countries, and they made mistakes and things got bad. Now, the suicide bankers you talk about aren't even looking at Russia might nuke us, and we're moving tanks up to their borders and breaking deals we had. They just want Ukraine, and it's just one more notch in their belt. It really seems like the type of thing historically that leads to disaster.
It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme made up of sovereign debt, mostly U.S. sovereign debt. And you know, with a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme, in order for it to keep active, you need to expand the base all the time. We know this from Bernie Madoff. We know this from classic Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes. So the American economy realizes
is a Ponzi scheme.
That the way to increase the debt of the U.S. sovereign Ponzi scheme fast is to launch another war, because war is incredibly capital intensive.
But I guess we've run out of
they've run
third world countries to blow up. So now let's start it with somebody with 20 million nukes.
Exactly.
20,000 nukes.
Now they're going up against somebody who has their own energy resources, who has obviously atomic weapons, but they have an enormous legion of hackers, of cyber hackers. I mean, Russia, who is the country we're talking about, is known around the world for having extraordinarily adept cyber hackers and technologists. They're in bed with Iran and China through the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. They want to get a pipeline going from that region into Europe. So who's Merkel going to go with? Is she going to side with Russia, China, Iran?
So bottom line, the bravado and the arrogance of the West could be our undoing. Our elite has become completely disconnected from reality. Look at Obama. In 1 minute, how do you see an ending? Where is the dollar going?
It's like in casinos, there's a strategy called the martingale betting system, where you have a losing bet, but you double down on that losing bet over and over and over again, thinking you're going to win. I think America is doubling down once again on another losing bet, this Russia invasion, more or less. And I think that will be the last bet. I think after that, America goes belly up. The dollar loses world reserve status, and commodities, oil, food, prices in this country are set to double and triple in the next 3 to 4 years.
All right, Max Keiser, thank you so much for being with us. Hope we can hang out some tonight. Folks, we're going to go back to break now and come back with my detailed report on geoengineering straight ahead, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. We don't know how all this is going to end, but one thing's for sure, this is not a boring time to be alive. This is one of those times in history where everything's coming down, everything is happening right now. This is the time to be informed, the time to be involved, and the time to be spreading the word about the info war. Because if you're watching or listening to this transmission, you are the resistance.
You've experienced and heard about the benefits of super male vitality. Now, the new formula has arrived. Introducing the new Super Female Vitality. I have specifically designed this formula to help the body naturally regulate itself without the use of artificial hormones. Key ingredients chosen from the highest quality sources. Secure your Super Female Vitality today from our limited stock at InfoWarsLife.com.